Marseille, wild, sun-bleached, loud, and utterly unrepentant, is not just France's oldest city, but one of Europe's most enduring experiments in diversity and defiance. Long before Paris was a cluster of huts on the Seine, Marseille was already arguing, trading, and drinking by the sea. If you love history and stunning drone views, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Horizon History for more stories from above. The city began around 600 BCE when Greek sailors from Phocaea, in modern-day Turkey, dropped anchor on the Provençal coast. They named their new home Massalia, which sounded noble in Greek but was probably confusing to the local Celts. According to legend, their leader Protus attended a feast held by Nanus, king of the Segobriges tribe. At the banquet, the king's daughter Gyptus was to choose her husband by offering him a ceremonial cup of wine. Ignoring the local warriors, she handed it to the handsome Greek love, or perhaps good maritime diplomacy, founded Marseille. The union also meant that the city's first political alliance was sealed not with bloodshed, but with a toast, an appropriately Mediterranean start. Massalia flourished quickly. The Greeks brought olive trees, vineyards, and the art of arguing about everything from philosophy to fishing. They laid out streets, built a marketplace, and established a temple to Artemis on what is now the Butte des Carmes. The city became a maritime powerhouse, trading wine, ceramics, and salt across the Mediterranean. Greek culture spread inland. They even introduced writing and coinage to parts of Gaul. In a way, Marseille was France's first university, fish market, and wine bar combined. Inevitably, the Romans noticed. When Rome expanded its empire northward, Massalia tried to keep neutral. But in 49 BCE, it chose the wrong side. In the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey, Caesar won, the city lost, and the Roman legions plundered it. A Greek city with a Latin headache, one chronicler joked. Yet even under Rome, Marseille kept its restless spirit. The port thrived. Roman engineers improved it, and Latin gradually replaced Greek. By late antiquity, Massalia had become a center of Christianity. According to tradition, Saint Lazarus, yes, the one Jesus raised from the dead, became its first bishop, and Mary Magdalene supposedly landed nearby after fleeing the Holy Land. Locals like to point out that Marseille's history of dramatic arrivals began with that boatload of biblical refugees. After the fall of Rome, Marseille endured centuries of upheaval. Goths, Franks, and Saracens came and went. The city was sacked, rebuilt, and sacked again, yet always rose from the rubble like a particularly stubborn seagull. By the 10th century, it had become part of the County of Provence and regained prosperity as a hub for Mediterranean trade. Pilgrims heading to the Holy Land embarked from its quays, filling the air with hymns and the smell of salted fish. When the First Crusade departed in 1099, the sight of thousands of ships leaving the harbor must have been extraordinary. Even the fish swam east, one monk quipped. Medieval Marseille was fiercely independent. It elected its own consuls, minted its own coins, and occasionally ignored its own rules. In 1481, Provence was annexed to the French crown, but Marseille didn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. When King Louis XI tried to assert royal authority, the city simply locked its gates. It took generations before the monarchy truly controlled it, and even then, Marseille's obedience was half-hearted. "We are French," one 16th century merchant wrote, "when it suits us." By the 17th century, Marseille was booming. The port handled trade with the Levant, importing silk, coffee, and spices while exporting wine, soap, and stories. Its sailors were famed for bravery, its merchants for cunning, and its taverns for being good places to lose your money. Yet prosperity brought peril. In 1720, the merchant ship Grand Saint-Antoine arrived from the Middle East, its hold full of fine fabrics, and fleas carrying bubonic plague. Despite quarantine orders, corrupt traders unloaded the cargo in secret. Within weeks, Marseille was a city of death. Nearly half the population perished. The hero of that grim year was Chevalier Roze, a former army officer who organized burial teams and cleaned the infected districts. His courage saved thousands. Even today, Marseillais honor him with grim humor. Roze made us clean, once and for all. Rebirth followed disaster. The 18th century saw renewed prosperity, and when the French Revolution erupted in 1789, Marseille was ready. In 1792, volunteer soldiers marched from the city to Paris, singing a fierce anthem from Strasbourg, Chant de guerre pour l'armée du Rhin. Parisians, charmed and terrified, renamed it La Marseillaise. The irony that the national anthem wasn't actually written in Marseille bothers no one. We made it famous, locals say. That's enough. During the 19th century, Marseille became France's gateway to the empire. The Suez Canal transformed it into the key port for North Africa and the Far East. Steamships lined the quays, cranes clattered, and exotic goods from across the globe flooded the markets. The city grew rich, cosmopolitan, and rowdy. Italian masons, Corsican traders, and Algerian laborers joined Provençal families in the cramped alleys of the Panier district. Out of this mix emerged the city's famous accent, musical, lazy, and impossible for Parisians to imitate without sounding ridiculous. The city's rough humor became legend. When asked why Marseille's fishermen argued so loudly, one replied, "If we whisper, the fish don't hear us." Another local joke claims the Mediterranean was invented so Marseillais could cool their feet while telling tall tales. Industrialization brought both progress and pollution. Shipyards, soap factories, and warehouses lined the harbor. Yet Marseille remained more Mediterranean than French, half market, half melodrama. Even its cuisine reflected that spirit. Bouillabaisse, a stew once made from unwanted fish, became a national delicacy. World War II shattered the city. Occupied by the Germans and bombed by the Allies, Marseille lost much of its historic port district. In 1943, the Nazis demolished the old quarter, claiming it harbored resistance fighters. When peace returned, so did the indomitable Marseillais. They rebuilt, argued about how to rebuild, then argued again, and eventually did it their way. The post-war years brought waves of immigration from North Africa, reshaping Marseille's identity once more. Arabs, Berbers, Armenians, and Jews from Algeria and Tunisia added their voices to the chorus. The result was a city that smelled of mint tea and diesel, where church bells mingled with the call to prayer. It was noisy, messy, and utterly alive. Modern Marseille has fought hard to shed stereotypes of crime and chaos, yet those same qualities feed its energy. The city's 2013 stint as European Capital of Culture brought new museums like the Musem, sleek trams, and revived pride. But even as it modernizes, Marseille never loses its humor or defiance. Ask a local if he loves Paris, and he'll shrug. Sure, it's a nice place to visit from Marseille. Today, France's second-largest city remains its most distinctive. The Vieux-Port bustles with fishermen selling the morning catch beside cafes packed with tourists. The Basilique Notre-Dame de la Garde, gleaming on its hill, watches over sailors and skeptics alike. The Calanques, those limestone cliffs plunging into turquoise water, remind everyone that nature, too, shaped Marseille's soul. The city's contradictions are its charm. It is ancient yet rebellious, dangerous yet generous, loud yet poetic. If Paris is a lady, wrote the novelist Jean-Claude Ezo, Marseille is a woman who laughs too loudly and loves too fiercely. From a Greek outpost to a global port, from plague to poetry, Marseille has survived everything. Conquerors, kings, and its own exuberance. Its people remain exactly as they were described 2 millennia ago. Talkative, stubborn, proud, and endlessly hospitable once you've earned their respect. Some cities tell their stories in museums. Marseille shouts hers across the harbor, over the smell of fish and diesel and sunlight. Her anthem, La Marseillaise, still echoes far beyond her shores, a reminder that this unruly city has always sung louder than anyone else. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to give the video a like. It really helps the channel grow. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Maybe share a historical fact or a place you'd like to see from above next time. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Horizon History so you don't miss the next story told from the skies.